Good afternoon, boys and girls. Today in reading, we are talking about summarizing the text, and this is day 1. And the standard that we are going to talk about is RI 42, which says determine the main idea of a text and explain how it is supported by key details. This is the same thing we did last week. But this week we are also going to work on summarizing the text. So let's go to the next slide. So today our connection is, what is today's focus? So our essential question is, how can I summarize an informational text using the main idea and supporting details? So you can whisper in your head or repeat after me quietly. Today I am, using main idea and supporting details. So that I can summarize the text. This is important because using main idea and supporting details can help the reader summarize. You'll know I got it when I can use the main idea and supporting details to summarize the text. All right, so our teaching point today is that good readers highlights the main idea and key details of a nonfiction text to write an effective summary. So today we're going to practice highlighting the main idea and highlighting the key details. So let's look at this text. And I think somewhere down here there's a highlighter. Nope, that wasn't it. Settings. More. Okay. Well, you guys that are in here are going to have this printed for you so that you will be able to highlight the text with me. Just trying to see. This is my first time, you guys. There's a way I can do this. So, I don't see it. All right. So we're going to read this text first. So right now I need you guys to listen, and we're going to pull out some of the most important parts, the main idea and the details. So here's a picture. It looks like Benjamin Franklin and some other colonists, and it says, the caption says, this 1857 engraving by Alonzo Chappell portrays the Committee of Five drafting the Declaration of Independence during the Second Continental Congress in 1776 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Robert Livingston, and Roger Sherman served on the committee. Image courtesy of the National Archives. So let's read it. The 4th of July is a special time in history. It is when the United States chose to become its own country in 1776. On this date, an important paper was approved by U.S. leaders. It is known as the Declaration of Independence. Its history deserves a closer look. All right, now this says trouble with England. So let me move this down so we can see. Okay, trouble with England. Aye. Before George Washington was president, the United States was ruled. This thing needs to go away. The United States was ruled by the King of England. The U.S. was 13 colonies of England. The colonies became upset with the way the king governed. The colonies chose lawmakers to help protect them. There were several battles between the colonies and England. Eventually, people wanted to break away from the king. They wanted the U.S. to have its own leaders and laws. Next, it says writing an important paper. Lawmakers from the colonies formed a Congress. In June 1776, Congress gathered in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The lawmakers decided to write the Declaration of Independence. A declaration is a strong statement. It stated exactly why the U.S. wanted its own laws and leaders. The men who worked on this declaration are often called the founders of the U.S. They included John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, and Thomas Jefferson, a lot of the same guys in the picture. There were many edits and changes to the writing. Sounds like when we do our writing, when we revise and edit. It took time and careful teamwork to finish the declaration. On July 1st, the lawmakers looked it over. Many leaders were nervous about voting for it because they feared war with England. Leaders voted on the declaration. If it passed, the U.S. would stand against England. This took some time as different states made decisions. Some states were afraid to become independent. On July 2nd, the declaration passed. On July 4th, 1776, lawmakers approved the last edits. And the last section is called a daring signature. Even after this, there were more edits. It was printed several times. Lawmakers needed all of the states to settle on how it was written. Finally, the last edits were approved on July 9th. The declaration was signed by leaders on August 2nd. John Hancock was the head of these lawmakers. He had the biggest, boldest signature. Signing this paper was serious. The leaders were daring to sign the declaration. These brave leaders could have lost their lives signing their names. Yet this paper helped make the U.S. its own country. Excellent. So now that we've read through it, we're going to look at what the main idea was. So I want you to think to yourself for a minute, what do you think is the main idea? If you said the main idea was that United States leaders signed the Declaration of Independence, you are correct. Next, we need to find 3 key details. So Miss Ovia is going to tell you some details that I saw. The first detail that I saw, and I wish I could highlight this, is right here. It tells us when this happens, when the signing of the Declaration of Independence happened. It says, in June 1776, Congress gathered in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I want you to highlight that on your paper. If you need to, you can pause the video while you're highlighting. In June 1776, Congress gathered in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That is one important detail. The next important detail I want you to highlight is this one. It says there were many edits and changes to the writing. It took time and careful teamwork to finish the declaration. That is another very important detail. So find this on your paper, and I want you to highlight it. If you need to, you can pause the video. The last detail is that on July 4th, 1776, lawmakers approved the last edits. So I want you to take some time, pause the video, and highlight this sentence on your paper. Good job. Now we're going to move on. So we are going to, one of the strategies that we use is called a 5-finger retell. So what I want you to do is I want you can whisper it to yourself or just talk in your head, but Miss Ovalle and Miss Reuter should see your hands moving. So I want to see your hands like it is on the picture. We're going to touch our thumb and say, the main idea is that U.S. leaders signed the Declaration of Independence. Next, touch your other finger, number 1. The key detail is that lawmakers met in 1776 in Philadelphia. Number 2 detail, so you're going to touch your middle finger. You're going to say the Declaration of Independence was edited and changed. Now touch your ring finger, and this is the next detail, is that on July 4th, 1776, the final edits were approved. And we forgot to talk about an interesting fact because we always want to make our summaries interesting. So I'm going to go back here and find this. I think this is interesting. These brave leaders could have lost their lives by signing their names. So that's going to be my interesting fact. So your job is to write a summary. And I'm going to show you how to do it today. And tomorrow you're going to practice by yourself. So here's my main idea. The main idea of the text is that the United States leaders signed the Declaration of Independence. One detail from the text is lawmakers from the colonies met in 1776 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's this idea right here. The next finger and the next detail is that another detail is the Declaration of Independence was edited and changed many times. Now our next finger and our next detail is that one more detail is on July 4th, 1776, lawmakers approved the last edits of the Declaration of Independence. And the interesting fact, which was different from the one that Miss Ovalle picked, and that would be this finger right here, is that the Declaration of Independence was actually signed on August 2nd by many brave leaders. And that's all for today. If you have extra time before this next rotation, you can read a book, or if you are on Lexia, you can work on some Lexia, but if I don't want you sitting there doing nothing, so you can go on Epic, or you can go on Literacy Footprints, or you can just get a book and actually read something. Okay, good job today.